Welcome to another AMA. My name is John Belizaire, and I am the CEO of Soluna Holdings. I'll be answering shareholders and potential investors' most asked questions about our finances and projects over the next few slides. If you'd like to see these answers in written form, please visit solunacomputing.com/blogs. Stick around to learn how to submit your questions at the end of this AMA. The following content is completely qualified by the legal disclosures on the slide following this one. Our goal is to share with you some of our strategic thinking and financial analysis we're using to guide the growth of our business. The content is in line with our principles of being accountable and transparent with our shareholders. We operate in a hyper-dynamic economic environment. That's a fancy way of saying things change quickly. What we are telling you here is based on our estimates and assumptions, which are our best guess. We reserve the right to revise our point of view based on our new information and changes in the business environment. Despite an uncertain dynamic environment, we must plan and make operating and investment decisions. This presentation lays some of that out for your review. Here is that legal disclosure and disclaimer I talked about. Okay, let's begin with some questions. Regarding future sites, how will you guys decide whether to pursue HPC or BTC hosting? It seems like other companies in the space have almost completely pivoted to HPC AI. Well, at Soluna, for each project, we perform a feasibility study on its applicability for Bitcoin and AI. For AI, we're looking at large land sites, power access, matching market demand, anywhere from 80 to 100 plus megawatts with growth potential. We look at connectivity and access to backup power. Projects that score high on Bitcoin and AI will have dual uses, and some may be only Bitcoin. The Bitcoin portion allows us to deliver curtailment mitigation solutions to our partners rapidly, while AI can take 18 to 24 months to develop and construct. By strategically mixing the two at certain sites, we get the best of both worlds. Now for us, it's not purely about the compute, but partnering with the grid and green energy operators to solve a problem. And that's a major wasted energy issue in the renewable energy space. For each project, we balance the needs of the grid and market to best select the mix of compute. And of course, our behind the meter structure allows us this flexibility, which is unique to Soluna. Texas is vast and composed of many different biomes, with Project Kadi in a different area from Dorothy. How will you mitigate and cope with the increased humidity at Project Kadi? Well, for each project, we get 4 years worth of historical weather data, everything from temperature, humidity, to wind speeds and pressure. And we use that in our models to optimize our layout and designs for a specific location. This can include reinforcements on the buildings, foundations, as well as different airflow filtration methods to accommodate those local conditions. Humidity really becomes a concern when it condenses, for example, so we have mitigation factors in place to avoid condensation. Please recall that our first site, Edith, which was in Washington State, and Sophie in Kentucky. These two initial sites allowed us to build up experience around these various biomes and develop this approach to dealing with different locations. Thanks for your question. When do you anticipate the 1 gigawatt being energized? Updating anticipating energization timelines will be very helpful. Well, we don't normally publish energization timelines, but we have published a growth trajectory based on our typical 12 to 18 months from term sheet to shovel readiness. Project Dorothy is already ramping up. In fact, we just started Project Kadi, and it is expected to ramp through the middle of next year. The remaining projects, Annie, Rosa, Hetty, Ellen, Gladys, and Faye, are moving along well, and we expect 1 to 2 of them to mature in 2026. The ramp of computing and energy capacity can be found in our 2025 earnings power presentation on our website. Please visit solunacomputing.com. Thanks again for your question. It is unclear whether the deal with Canaan is an expansion or replacement of hosting clients at Dorothy. Please clarify. The 20 megawatt Canaan deal replaces existing customers at Project Dorothy 1A that are scheduled to terminate. We hope this is the first of a long series of deals with Canaan, a leading innovator in the Bitcoin mining space. Regarding Project Kadi, Soluna has confirmed that $20 million funding is coming from Spring Lane Capital for 35 megawatts. You have then advised 48 megawatts with Galaxy. Who's funding? Project Kadi 1, the first 83 megawatts, including the 48 megawatts with Galaxy, will be funded by a combination of equity investments from Soluna, Spring Lane Capital, and the $100 million Generate Credit Facility. Thanks for asking. That's a great question. It's not always easy to see the outstanding shares and warrants as they're constantly increasing. For example, on 9/23, it was 47 million shares outstanding, and then 9/24, it was 61.5. When you provide your monthly updates, are you able to provide an up-to-date, easy-to-read guide of what shares are outstanding, what warrants are outstanding, and what price they can be exercised? Well, because of financial compliance reasons, we can only disclose this information after it's been audited by our accountants. That happens quarterly and is published in our quarterly financials or quarterly filings. The next one is our 10Q, and of course our annual reports are 10Ks. Our Q3 filing is coming up in November. You can see the latest capitalization table there and more information about capital formation activities. Thanks for your question. How about some basic financial information, like the use of the ATM, the use of capital, and the economics of your announced deals? Everyone would like to know what your capitalization plans are now with this large ATM. An update on our financials will appear in our Q3 financials and filings in November. In the materials, we'll provide you with an update on our capital formation plans, use of our ATM, and more. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be able to provide some of that information for you. What are Soluna's plans with the cash raised from Q3, Q4? Building more equity in Dorothy 2, Kadi 1 and 2, and other pipeline projects? Accelerating timelines, paying off debt, paying off pref dividends, all of the above? Well, our goal is to use our project-level debt and equity tools like Spring Lane and Generate, along with our current company level or holdings company level ATM, equity, and SEPA, to raise capital for our shovel-ready projects and our 1 gigawatt pipeline. We intend to invest in projects including, but not limited to, Dorothy 2, Kadi 1, and the upcoming development projects, namely Helen, Eddie, Annie, Gladys, and Faye. We are also working on the development of Kadi 2 for AI, including land acquisition, substation upgrades, and design development engineering activities. More on that in future announcements. I also want to turn your attention to our 2025 earnings power presentation, where we show an illustration of as we deploy capital to these projects, what that could look like over the next few years in terms of growth in revenue, profit, and our unit economics. You can find that at solunacomputing.com. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for submitting your questions. If you're reading this and haven't had a chance to ask your question, it's not too late. Fill out the form in the video description below. You can also contact us on X. We're at Soluna Holdings. We're also on LinkedIn. You can find us on the company page, Soluna Holdings. And of course, we encourage you to join our newsletter. We send updates and interesting content about the company all the time on a periodic basis. You can find that at bit.ly/Soluna subscribe. Thanks again for your questions, and as always, we keep pushing.